Hello chess friends and welcome to Decisive's chess channel and welcome to the round 5 of the Magnus Carlsen Invitational tournament in 2020. So today we had the clash Fabiano Caruana versus Magnus Carlsen. It's really a great battle. I think the World Championship challenger from 2018 against the World Champion. We couldn't expect more from this day, and I've also talked about how great this tournament really is, because every day, as I mentioned yesterday, we have really a derby. Today we have Magnus Carlsen playing. It's again a great game. We have Alireza Firouzja versus Hikaru Nakamura. I expect in that game to be great, in which we will have great tactics. But of course, this is, I think, a more interesting game between the two top best players these days. And Fabiano Caruana played with the white pieces. He played the first move e4, and here comes already a surprise, because I haven't seen Magnus Carlsen playing this Alekhine defense. It's not an opening, I think, that is many times played these days, but it's really a surprise, I think, for Fabiano. He went into the main line with the move e5, and now we have knight to d5, d4, d6, c4, kicking away the knight, which is still common theory, and after knight to b6, we have the 4-pawn attack of the Alekhine. And this is already a dynamic game, and we can expect, of course, some tactics here, because this pawn storm that Fabiano Caruana created is really one to face. You have to be careful here from Black's perspective. But one of the main ideas of the Alekhine defense is to crack the pawn's central control. It means in some occasions we have already cracked the position around the square e5, and then our main goal is to play the move c5, really cracking the position. In the game, here Magnus played the g6. It's really similar to the King's Indian 4-pawns attack. The difference is that the knight is not on b6 in the King's Indian, but still with the same strategical ideas. We play bishop to g7, activate this bishop, and really crack the position here with potential c5 moves. In the game, knight to c3 was played. Knight to f3 in the Alekhine defense can be met sometimes with the move bishop to g5 or g4, because the knight is always a good protector of this central pawns, especially of this d4 pawn. So here Caruana played a more flexible move, knight to c3. Bishop to g7, we have bishop to e3, simply keeping the position in the center compact, and now bishop to e6, which is also a very common line in the Alekhine defense, but it's really a provocative move here by Magnus Carlsen, because what Black is hoping here for, that Black will push the pawn on d5. Okay, you gain the tempo, but again you change the structure of the pawns in the center. Now you see we don't have anymore this d4 pawn. After the move d5, okay, we can retreat, maybe here bishop to f5, even g4 is a possibility. This is really sort of a teasing bishop, which allows maybe white to gain some space, but now I think we can simply retreat here even to d7, and now you see you have some troubles around the square e5. This pawn can also be challenged with potential f6 in the near future, or here we can challenge the central control with the move c6. So it would be really sort of an inviting move. I'm inviting you to create this pawn storm, but then I'll crack your pawn storm and activate this powerful bishop. You'll see the importance of this bishop in the continuation of the game. In the game, knight to f3 was played by Caruana, trying to develop as fast as he can, because he has the dominant center, and now it's time to develop the minor pieces. So not playing this d5 idea. In the game, castling, played by Magnus Carlsen, and now b3, fixing the position, of course, of this pawn on c4. Now again, you see, while improving the position of the pawn structure, you again create new weaknesses in the position. That's the main strength, I think, of the Alekhine defense. After d takes e5, now Magnus is challenging. We have d takes e5. And move like f takes e5 can be already met with the move c5. That's, as I said, the main idea, the main goal of the Alekhine. After potential d5, okay, you have again a pawn central control, but now bishop to g4, which is, as I said, one of the main ideas. You could take here maybe the pawn, that's not the problem, but the main idea of the Alekhine is to crack the center. Now knight to d7, attacking the bishop. After bishop takes bishop to d4, now we have knight takes e5, and I think Black has a comfortable game. Still in the near future, again, we could crack this advanced pawn on d5 with potential e6 moves. So that's why here, after the move d takes e5, Fabiano played the move d takes e5, keeping the position more symmetrical. You saw in this continuation f takes e5, the game becomes really sometimes too dynamic. Here, after d takes e5, knight to c6 played by Magnus, simply developing move, and now we have knight to e4, which is, I think, maybe sort of first inaccuracy by Caruana. Of course, this knight is perfectly fine on e4, but here I think you can play a different move order. You could play here the move knight to g5, attacking the bishop on e6. Now after bishop to f5, now it's time to get this knight on e4, so still this knight could be used maybe as a potential outposted knight on d5. In the game, Caruana played the move knight to e5 from the square c3. It of course allows you to get a dangerous jump on c5, but it's not a problem. You see the problems now in the continuation of Caruana's game, because Magnus simply tried to crack. As I said, we are not allowing this space advantages on our side of the board. It's time to crack the position. Knight to c5, queen to c8. Very important move now to recognize here for Magnus, not retreating with the bishop, because if you take knight takes e6, then I think you're in big trouble, because here queen takes e6, and you see the problems now. The e file will get opened, and you still have this loose bishop here on e3. So if the position clears, you still need at least 2 more tempos in order to castle. But even if you play this move bishop to d3, bishop to e2, your bishop is hanging. So still Magnus would have a perfect domination with potential rook to d8 ideas. So here you could try maybe c5, attack the knight, but now this is the main powerful idea of Magnus, to bring the rook on the d file, and now queen to c1. But now you see this knight will come very actively into the game. Knight to d5, the bishop is really endangered, and in the next move we could really crack the position. So I think, as I said, that white would be really in big trouble. So that's why here Caruana played bishop e takes f6, challenging now the bishop, and bishop takes f6 played by Magnus, and this bishop comes now very actively into the game. Here Caruana played a brave decision. He played the move bishop to e2, sacrificing the rook, but it's, I think, a good sacrifice, because Caruana played this inaccuracy with the move knight to e4. It's time now to make something happen. If you try rook to c1 to defend your rook, then you get again this very tricky move, rook to d8, and if you, for instance, cover with a knight, then bishop to b2 is a possibility, challenging the rook, rook to c2, but now bishop to a3 is really a dangerous threat. In the continuation, we could try again, challenge the rook with potential bishop to f5 moves, and also knight to b4 is a possibility, even knight to d4. So you see, black's pieces are much more active, so that's why Caruana realized maybe his mistakes in an early stage of the game, and okay, he invited now Magnus Carlsen to take the rook, but then of course black will continue the game with some dark square problems in front of the king. So here bishop to e2, let's grab the rook, but okay, we'll have then of course an active position with our minor pieces. So in the game, rook to d8, queen to c1, and now Magnus plays first the developing move bishop to f5. He, of course, knows I can take the rook whenever I want. Now, first I want to improve my position of my pieces. In the game, castling played, and now knight to d7. Because this is really an annoying knight. First, it's time to challenge this very important knight. In the game, knight to d3 played by Caruana. And now when white doesn't have any more such an activity with minor pieces, now it's time to take the rook with the move rook, the bishop takes a1, queen takes a1, and now knight to f6. We want, of course, to close now as fast as we can the dark squares, because, as I said, some troubles could happen here with the dark square bishop. So black doesn't have any more the dark square bishop. In the game, knight to e5 played by Caruana, which is a good move, centralizing the knight. We have knight takes e5 and knight takes e5. You see, Magnus is trying now to simplify the position with up the exchange. Of course, it's time to create really a calm game now, trying to get this game into an end game. Then of course we would have this exchange advantage. Now we are hoping for an end game in which we maybe would have a rook against a bishop, trying even to trade off the queens. This could be, of course, a completely winning end game for black. But Caruana, of course, feels probably that he's now on the attacking side, that he has some attacking chances. After the move queen to e6, he played bishop to d4. Now trying to get this knight somehow of the board and really liberating this dark square diagonal. Knight to d7, we have h3 with some preparations to play g4 and even f5, cracking the position, and then even somehow include this light square bishop. Then this bishops would be really aiming on the king side, and the king would be really endangered. The problem also for Magnus Carlsen is this queen on e6. If, for instance, we play c5, then also bishop to c4 is a serious threat. In the game knight takes e5, you see Magnus is still playing on the simplification idea. We have bishop takes e5 and now c6. Very important move also, because we have to protect basically light squares and dark squares from black's perspective. We have also to protect the light squares. The light squares could be also a problem with this bishop to c4 move. And now queen to c3, played by Caruana, trying to get the queen more activated in the game. And now Magnus plays, I think, his first mistake in the game. He played the move h5. Here Magnus probably didn't realize this potential c5 move by Fabiano Caruana. So better idea here is to play the move queen to d7. Because here, if white tries this bishop to h8 idea, we could play simply e5. The main defensive idea about this move is to protect, of course, this weak g7 square. There are many threats here around g7, but it can be met with the move e5. Here in the continuation, if you try queen takes e5, then rook to e8 wins the game immediately. You lose the bishop. You have to protect first of all your bishop on e2, and then we can simply take out this bishop. So in the continuation of the game, white would be forced to take this pawn with the bishop. If you take, of course, without pawn, then again we have closed the dark squares. So it was a mistake. You see in the continuation why this h5 move was a mistake, because here Caruana played the move rook to e1, creating some discovered attack possibilities on the queen, and now we have king to f7. And here comes now the critical moment. You see now why this h5 move was really a mistake. Here Caruana played the move queen to g3, which is Caruana's mistake. Basically, Caruana had, I think, a comfortable game here after a potential c5 move. That was the main goal. As I said, when we're battling against our dark square bishop, then you see how many moves you have to make in order to prevent white from checkmating you. But when you do that, then you weaken again further your light squares. Now the c5 move, let's see a possible continuation. If you go for this idea, queen to d7, then bishop to c4. Serious threat here. And after something like, I don't know, bishop to e6, we have a cracking move, f5. Let's see possible continuations. If you take bishop takes c4, then you get f takes g3, sacrificing even more pieces, but just in order to include the queen now on g3. And now if the king is basically checkmated here, we could try after king to f5, we could simply try queen to f4, really attacking the king. We could also go here behind with the queen. Bishop to b2 is also a dangerous possibility with some checkmate threats on e5. So if, for instance, black in this position takes first the pawn, not this bishop, then again we can play simply bishop takes e6, or even a powerful idea here is to play this idea queen to g3 with some checkmate threat. So I think Magnus made this mistake because here he played really too early this move h5. For instance, if you try here to close the light squares, then you get a great positional move, bishop to d6 will paralyze the whole black's position with this dark square problems. Now the idea would be something like, I don't know, queen to e5, or even queen to f3 with some g4 pawn breakthroughs. So as I said, in the game after king to f7, Caruana didn't play the move c5, which would be really dangerous. He played the move queen to g3 and allowed now basically Magnus to regroup a little bit with the move rook to d2, because in the first place Caruana played this accurate queen to c3 move. This was the idea to not allow this rook come into the game. Here after the move queen to g3, now rook to d2 comes very, very actively into the game. Bishop to f3, but not a problem. We play first on the spinning idea. After queen to g5, now you see Magnus is regrouping. Caruana didn't attack, played this simply passive move. Now these rooks are perfectly fine, and in the game king to f2, Caruana realized his problems on the second rank. On the first rank there are also some tactical threats to take out immediately. Bishop takes h3, really with some dangerous queen infiltrations here. The queen could be really active here after potential rook to d2, then queen to h2 would be also checkmate threat. In the game, king to f2, rook to d2, king to g3, but now of course a natural move, rook to d3, not allowing this bishop to breathe. In the game, queen to h6 played by Caruana, and here you can pause the video and try to find the winning move for Magnus Carlsen. He saw that move, of course, that's why he prepared all of that. He has now really a great piece activity. Here Magnus played the move bishop takes h3. If you take, for instance, g takes h3, then you get here rook takes f3. You're gonna be checkmated because after king takes f3, we have now the opportunity to play simply queen takes h3. Wherever you go here, king to f5, queen to f5 is really game over. So here you could also try in this particular move, you could try maybe to escape here again to h3, but here queen to h3, here after king to g4, queen to f5, again this enormous threats. So in the game, after this move bishop takes h3, Caruana tried to escape, but now here Magnus pull off rook takes g2. You see the problems. If you take the rook, then you get checkmated on g4 because we have deflected this bishop from the defense of the g4. If you don't do anything, basically again we would have some dangerous threats around g4, rook to g4 followed with queen takes g4 is the checkmate threat. You cannot basically do so much. You could try this one check, but after king to e8 you don't have any more checks. You could maybe try this one, but still this king is now perfectly fine. It's not endangered, and as I said in the previous position, Caruana resigned. Great surprise, I think, by Magnus Carlsen to play this Alekhine defense. We'll see what will happen. It's now Magnus is leading, 3 more games to play. We'll continue to follow their match game. I think it will be really a dynamic. Magnus has now a great possibility to crush even Caruana with the win with the black pieces. Meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.